So the Chiefs versus Brumbies semi-final of Super Rugby is just around the corner. It is a much anticipated game with a lot on the line. The Blues versus Crusaders, they will be playing off on Friday night. The winner of that game will be moving through to the Super Rugby Pacific final. But for this one, we will be previewing that other game that has taken place for the semis. Chiefs Brumbies, like I mentioned. Tim from Rugbyitch will be joining us. How excited are you for this game, mate?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. Very excited. I mean, there was a late win, you could say, from the Brumbies camp, obviously, when they got that win over the line against the Hurricanes. The Chiefs, again, they had a tough battle, actually, against the Reds. They definitely get through. But at the end of the day, I just think they were too powerful off the bench. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see who actually comes up on top here, because both sides are pretty good, actually, in good form, obviously, coming back from those wins in the quarterfinal. But just something in the back of my head just kind of springs that the Chiefs may get this through. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because the Brumbies they can shock you. They can shock you.
They can, just like they did last week up against the Hurricanes. Not too many people expecting them to walk away with the victory, which was surprising in some regards, seeing as it was at GIO Stadium. Only team to defeat them at GIO Stadium has been the Chiefs,
Exactly.
who they now find at FMG Stadium, the home game for the top of the table Chiefs side here. And they've got a pretty good record against Australian sides, the Chiefs, just losing that one game this season. Was to the Reds in that game in the quarterfinals. They were tested again.
Yeah.
So maybe the Reds starting to find something of a weakness in the Chiefs game. And to be honest, I think I'm starting to see it as well. The word of the day, territory. Seemed to be when the Chiefs were stuck inside of their own territory. They just couldn't quite get out. And the Brumbies, they are one of those sides that if they can kick that ball in behind with the likes of a Jack DeBrinksini, any of those guys with the long boots, the Chiefs have to find a way of running that ball back, which I don't think they quite did enough up against the Reds. But they still deserve a lot of credit, because at the end of the day, they got themselves that victory. So straight away, key players, we will jump into that in a very short moment. But what do you think this Chiefs side need to do to be able to defeat the Brumbies and vice versa?
Oh, I mean,
it's a great question, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, but for the Chiefs to beat the Brumbies, I think they actually just have to continue with their game. I don't think they have to really change much in terms of what they do, because I mean that's the reason why they're first in the table. I don't really think you change the way you play in the playoffs. It makes no sense in my opinion. So I think they just continue going with it. What they've done. Again, you can utilize maybe the wingers more, I guess. I mean, they did pretty well in terms of that front against the Reds, but I guess just taking advantage more of your try-scoring opportunities, because, again, the Reds did stop them a few times. So I guess that if I had to say one thing that they can improve on is probably their discipline, because, again, I think that's the main thing which I would point out in terms of Chiefs' perspective. But if I had to say if the one thing the Brumbies can kind of, I don't know, improve on, it's just is probably take a bit of a lesson maybe from the Reds, just kind of go for those 50-22s, because, I mean, that was a key factor in the reason why the Reds actually held on to that game for such a long period of time. I mean, I think they got like 3 of them, which is like really impressive, because you normally only see like one of them within a game, and you're just like, oh, you're kind of shocked to see one. But then they got 3 in the game, which is like, it kind of just killed the Chiefs' momentum like immediately, really, like 3 times. So if they can get a lot of those chances and kind of, like you said, play the territory game, then, yeah, they'll have a chance.
Because I know that a lot of people were also talking about that Brumbies back line and how crisp it was looking in the midfield. They were saying that it was almost like a throwback to the good old days of the Brumbies, the likes of a Lena Katau in that midfield alongside Tamati Tua. And it was just those quick hands. They were able to create the opportunities early up against the Hurricanes. We know that Tom Wright, he's a fiery individual at number 15. Chiefs, if they can get under his skin, perhaps they can cause a bit of disciplinary issues on the Brumbies side. But we are going to jump into key players. I've already said one of mine, which is Lena Katau at number 13. He seemed to break onto the scene for the Wallabies, and he was fantastic during that rugby championship not too long ago. And I feel if he can get it right, because the thing is, for the Brumbies, a lot of people have been talking about their midfield, and they forget the fact that they've got someone like an Ollie Satsford on that left wing side, who's been phenomenal for Hawke's Bay for a long time. Out on the other wing, Andy Muirhead, a little bit more of an unknown factor for a lot of people around the world in terms of a name credibility, but certainly changed up his look recently. He's got the mustache, he's got the headgear, the hair's out, ready to go.
It reminds me a bit of like, I'm not saying maybe even mustache as well, but like George Bridge is kind of a similar player where I think he's very underrated in terms of what he did for the Crusaders. But it's kind of a similar thing with Andy Murray, like where he's actually scores a lot of tries for the Brumbies. And again, he's just someone that you can kind of rely on. So, yeah, he's definitely the one to look out for. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if he's injured or not, but I mean, Corey Toole had a very impressive season. So maybe he can be selected. Is he on the bench?
Yes, number 23.
Yeah, so he is on the bench. So that's maybe someone you can maybe look at just in case, I don't know, the kind of back three isn't working, because he's been very impressive throughout the whole season. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for him. But I guess in terms of the ones to watch players for both sides, I'd say from a Brumbies perspective, actually, I'd go for one of the loose forwards, because I think that's where really the battle will kind of be won or lost, really, because when we saw Fraser McWright win a lot of the key battles in terms of the breakdown, kind of last week, and kind of win a few penalties for them, which is kind of which was needed, really. So I think someone like Pete Samu or Rob Valentini maybe kind of can help that in that sense. I'll probably edge it towards Rob Valentini, because I think on his day he can kind of determine if the Brumbies won or not in a lot of games. So I think he's kind of the guy I'll point out for from a Brumbies perspective. From a Chiefs perspective, I'll probably say, I think Sean Stevenson is probably the obvious one, but is there someone else I can kind of point out for? I want to think different here. Actually, you know what? I actually will say Retallick. I think that's going to be a key battle actually in the locks, because both sides actually have a very good kind of locking duo actually, now that I think about it. So I think if the Chiefs can win the kind of the lineouts, because that's definitely one of their both sides are really known for their set pieces in terms of the lineouts. So I think that's actually a key battle. And actually, now the more I think about it, actually that could determine actually the game by itself, is really the lineouts. Because whoever wins that battle between Retallick, Valai, you have Nick Frost and not Darcy Swain, you have Katie Neville, right? So yeah, it's one of those. It's gonna be really interesting to see who kind of wins that. So I'll probably go for him.
Fair enough. Someone else in the line-out could be useful. Summer Penny Finau,
Exactly.
the blindside flanker. Yeah. Last week he was sensational in that game up against the Reds. And yeah, like you mentioned, those loose forwards could be absolutely crucial. We see someone like a Sam Cane last week. He made 24 tackles, which I feel like is a little bit of an interesting scenario, because I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of Sam Cane, maybe because of what's happened with the All Blacks recently, but the man's still a workhorse when he gets going.
I think this year it's changed, though. I think last year, I think you and me, in perspective, we're saying, Sam Cane maybe isn't the right guy at this point of time, going off his, Super Rugby form, because, Dalton Papali'i was literally the guy. He was literally the MVP of last year. So it made sense to kind of make that argument. But this year, Sam Cane has just been a level above, I think, compared to any other 7 in the comp so far. So I think really the next best was who he faced in the game, which was Fraser McWright. So I think Sam Cane is definitely deserving, I think, of that 7 jersey for the All Blacks. So I'm not going to I'm not going to doubt him for what he's done this year, because I've been very, very impressed by him, for what you said.
And I feel like it's until they announce that All Blacks squad, everyone's going to be like, yep, Sam Cane's going well. And then as soon as he's announced, anyone who hasn't really watched the Super Rugby season or is more preferable to someone like a Dalton Papali'i might not be too happy with what ends up happening. But nonetheless, we're almost at that stage, Tim, where we have to predict who's going to win this game. Now, you're wearing your Brumbies kit, and I'm going to be mean and make you go first.
Great. You know what? I actually want to think the Brumbies can do something here, because going off last season when they faced off the Blues, I thought it was only decided literally by the last kick of the game, really. Brumbies had an opportunity, but I think it was what was it? It was Albertine Lafasi who kind of blocked the drop goal, and that literally defined how the season went in terms of that semifinals. So I think the Brumbies are a side who can kind of give it towards the Chiefs. So I actually think they could win it. I don't know. I have a funny feeling where if it goes to the distance, I think the Brumbies can actually hurt the Chiefs, because the thing is that what we saw from the Reds just weren't able to go distance into the final 10. I think the Brumbies can actually do that, because what we saw against the Hurricanes last week, they did that literally to the last 10 as well. So, you know what? I'm actually going to go for the Brumbies. I will go for the shock win here. I will go for the Brumbies, but I will say it'll be by 1 or 2 points. It's going to be that close. So I'll say they'll win this game. I think there'll be a lot of tries for the way in this game, because both sides are known for the tries. So I'll say it'll be a scoreline of like 27-20, I don't know, 27-25. I think I'll go with it. It'll be a high-scoring game, something like that. But I don't know. I'm so nervous. We'll see what happens.
Now, I will mention they won't have Nick Berry as the referee for this one, sadly, so they can't rely on his being out of position and whatnot, but that was a little dig that wasn't necessary, was it? Poor Nick Berry, eh? The man, I don't think there's a side that like him at the moment, other than probably the Brumbies.
Yeah, I mean, like, even from a Blues perspective, he was. I think he was the referee for that Blues game against the Brumbies, and we lost. So I don't know, but maybe it's something against the Blues as well. So if you have something against the Blues, I don't know if I can support you. I like Ben O'Keefe though. Ben O'Keefe's a pretty good referee, but
you kind of look a little bit like him as well.
Ben O'Keefe.
If I had finished like 15 points and then I was in a pub and I saw you, I'd be like, oh, it's Ben O'Keefe.
It's Ben O'Keefe. Look at that.
And then I'd hear you talk and be like, he's changed his accent a bit, hasn't he?
What are you looking at? Anyway, what do you think in terms of the game?
Well, I'm thinking that the Brumbies, they've had a couple close victories throughout this season. And last time that they played the Chiefs, it was when they were at home, and the Chiefs were able to defeat them by 10. There's a part of me that feels because it's a finals game, we might see something a little bit different here in terms of closeness, but then there's also a part of me that's thinking the Chiefs are on a bit of a roll. Yes, they struggled against the Reds, but other than the Reds being their bogey team, we haven't really seen too many sides push them throughout this season.
I like that perspective. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the Chiefs, with the backline that they've gone with, I'm a little bit disappointed that Rameka Poihipi's been taken out of the midfield, I'll be honest.
I literally don't get that. He's been one of the best players for the Chiefs this year. But they've gone with what? Ancelot Brown and
Nankerville has walked his way back into the side. So I personally would have had Nankerville off the bench because Rameka Poihipi, it's that whole thing of if it's not broke, don't fix it. That man's been going very well, but I guess that's also with that change. Now that Leonard Brown's moving to 12, maybe that's something towards the ABs being like, hey, Geordie butchered it last week. Maybe get Anton Leonard Brown in there. But
I like it.
I'm stalling because I'm still trying to decide what score I'm thinking for this game. It's so tough. I'm looking at the stats from last week for both of the sides, and I'm just seeing like defenders beat them flat out for the Chiefs, like 6 by Stevenson, 4 by Natawa.
You're leaning towards the Chiefs, right? You're leaning towards the Chiefs.
I've got a little bit of a slightly Waikato lean, yes.
Okay.
It's just that question of how much. Is it going to be a close game that they have to go down to the nitty-gritty right at the end? Or is it going to be one of those games that from start to finish, they look like the side that want to make their way through to that final? Because at the end of the day, the home final's on the line. They don't want to give it to the Brumbies and let them go to Eden Park or Christchurch. They want it at home at FMG. So I'm going to say the Chiefs win this game 28 points to 15.
Okay. Fair enough. Like the scoreline.
Thank you. Let's see if it's correct. It's probably not going to be. I'm terrible at predictions. You actually got pretty close with one of yours last week, didn't you? Yeah.
Which one?
I think it was what game did we predict that it was going to be by 10? I think it was actually the Chiefs game. We said that the Chiefs were going to win by 10, and you said 27 points to 17. And in the end, it was 29 points to 20. So, overall, it's not bad. We'll claim it. I mean, we don't get close normally, so take anything we can get.
No, I'll take it.
Because I see that the TAB, just like in the middle of your shirt, they have got it that the Chiefs are heavy favourites. Yeah. I've got them as $1.22 compared to the Brumbies $4.20.
Well, what does it say for the other game? Can you see that one?
The other game, it is $1.62 for the Crusaders.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit closer for a side that's lost 17 out of their last 18 to the side. Sorry, had to throw that in there, Tim. You can rub them in my face next week when they're through to the final.
Gosh.
But nonetheless, I guess we will have to wait and see. That is the beauty of Super Rugby. every game, you actually can't tell who's going to win it. Like, no matter how much you think you know Super Rugby, then those big upsets come in and teams pull off miracles. And I feel like for the Brumbies to win it wouldn't even be classed as a miracle. You'd think it would be.
Because you have to remember the Chiefs have been the best team this year. Like, if they somehow mess this opportunity up to not have a home final, it's a massive deal. So I think, they got to make sure they kind of just hold down the fort, really. So
I would say that the Brumbies are the dark horse of the competition.
Oh, that's...
I'm here all week.
You're here all week, guys. Saturday comedy coming out soon.
Nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning into this preview. Be sure to let us know down in the comments below who your key players are and also that score prediction, who you feel will be winning semi-final number 2. Now, this video will actually be coming out after that Crusaders versus Blues game. So it's going to be weird because whoever wins this game, we already theoretically at this stage know who they're going to be playing. Whether it's going to be at Eden Park, Orange Theory Stadium, or whether this game's going to be confirmed for FMG after this one. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Be sure to check out Rugbyitch. Tell them that the Blues are going to win Super Rugby for 2023. And we will see you all for the next one.